Hello, we are here from My Path to Light, and we are going to give you some news about our services and the upcoming classes. Today, we want to talk a little bit about that we are offering healings, readings, and classes, and pretty soon we are going to have two amazing classes. One of them is clearing energy in your space. And we have nice experiences, interesting experiences. And if you have questions after watching this video, you can reach to us through our email. Go to www.mypathtolight.com and send us an email or call at 818 733 one. Monica, can you repeat the
Yes.
number, please?
818-733-3110.
10. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin by talking a little bit about energy. How having stagnant energy in our environment is affecting us. What is the experience that we have about doing clearing energies? So, Monica, can you tell us a little bit?
So a little bit about why we have sometimes a little bit of stuck energy at home or stagnant is because let's say our daily routines, sometimes we come and go from work and we had a long day. Sometimes it's been because we had not just a long week, but our kids go to school. So we have different energies in our home. And so what happens is that we have the energy of the parents from work, we have the energy of the kids, and sometimes we even have the energy of people that come and visit us. So it feels like there's a mix of different things, plus any other stressors that we might have. So stressors around family, work, or money, it just depends on, and that also can drain us. And those are like our main. Sometimes we also get like drained just by having maybe people in our lives who we shouldn't, and they drain our energy, and we're like, oh, I need to talk to my friend, and then it's like, great. Now we're all drained. So there are different reasons why. So we can be fatigued, we can have heightened tension, physical discomfort, sometimes even difficulty concentrating or sleeping. So it can manifest in different ways in us and in our kids, if we have any kids, and sometimes even in our pets.
So what you mean is that negative energy can affect our day-to-day life?
Yes. And if it's not cleared every so often, then what happens is that we can start having incidents. And so we can have incidents at home, or our judgment is clouded. Or for example, that's why sometimes we have, oh my God, how did I trip over the couch? It's always been there, or, things like that. And then your knee hurts. And this is just like I said, very common things that can happen in the house without going too much into detail yet of something bigger going on.
So it's huge, because if our mind is clouded, actually we cannot perform in a day-to-day basis, right? Like working.
Ideally, yes, that's right. Because what happens is that in that state, we operate vehicles, we drive. And then we're like, oh, this wouldn't have happened if I would have maybe cleared my energy. And sometimes we're not aware of it, but we're like, why do incidents keep on happening? And so
Mm,
before, I always tell my clients that before it gets worse, or once we have the first, let's say, incident or trigger, something that came up, and or an incident or an accident, always let's see what we can do, because what we do is we wait.
Mhm.
One
mm,
thing happened, then we wait for another one, for another one. And then once we have like a big incident, we're like, okay, now I need a healing. And I'm like, great, why didn't you come with me with the first one?
Monica, and that's what
yeah.
sometimes looks like, oh, I just had a bad week, or oh, I just had some bad luck. But what you're saying is like it accumulates. So
Mm,
how do we know when it's the first moment that we should look for a clearing?
mhm,
You know, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint in ourselves. And sometimes that's why it's important to have like either an accountability buddy or a person. Sometimes we live with others and they can let us know, we can tell them. But one of the ways that you can check yourself usually is by when you do something that even for you feels out of character or out of the ordinary.
mm,
Like, okay, this isn't me anymore.
Yeah.
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 We feel off.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you feel off because sometimes it's like you let's say you drive well, but
Mhm,
this day for some reason cars are just going in front of you, going in front of you, going in front of you, and you're like, oh my God, I'm stopping, I'm stopping, I'm stopping. Like, is that normal? I mean,
Right.
traffic is traffic, but why
mhm.
is it affecting you in this moment?
Right.
But
So
talking
we
about getting off, it's
Mhm.
because you need to know yourself very well. Otherwise, we don't know. And actually, we are always running back and forth, waking up and just doing things. So, what is the best way that we can tap into our energy and see that something is not okay?
Well, usually, well, of course, you know, I always suggest keep on healing yourself. You know, maintenance of healings is what keeps us basically like on our toes, because we know what it feels like to be okay and when we're not okay. And that can also be with our daily routine of meditation, prayer, or exercising, eating well. It's kind of like, you know, your body, for example, and this is like very, very light, like, you know, that if you eat a lot, your stomach will hurt. And you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have ate that much or something. And so that's how you start getting to know your energy. If
Mm,
you meditate and you quiet the mind and the body enough, and you are healing constantly, you will catch yourself in those moments of, wait a minute, I woke up fine.
mhm.
What happened? And
This
so
isn't me anymore.
this
Mm,
isn't me, or what did I do, or what came up? And
Hmm.
sometimes we can't do it on ourselves, so we seek assistance. Even us as healers, we do have our own healers. So I always suggest to do your daily practice, plus continue your constant healing.
Yeah, I like that. And being careful also not to let too much time go by, because what can turn into one day, a week, and we keep saying like we'll get over it, or after this season, or after the kids go back to school. Be mindful of that. And so basically you're saying just know yourself, know the season that you're in, and do a
mhm,
healing and a clearing on it.
Yes. And also, one thing that I also like to suggest to my clients is, if you know that, for example, Christmas is coming, Thanksgiving is coming, and you know that you might have a trigger or something might come up because it's family. We all have something
Mhm.
that comes up. And so prevent it. So then let's have a healing beforehand. Let's have a clearing so that you're ready for those days. Because sometimes we're like, okay, once all this is over, then I'll have a healing. And you go through the whole
Mhm.
thing, and then you're like,
Yeah.
and so
And
ideally you can prevent it also. Or
Right.
at least it doesn't hit you that hard.
Mhm.
and there is another thing that is very important for all the people that is empath,
Mm.
especially when we have that gift, we feel everybody's energy, everybody's thought. And not only we need to know that those feelings and emotions are not ours, but also we need to have a clearing in our energy, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's very true with empaths. Sometimes it's not even our own feelings, and we're feeling like either our family, our friends, or even like the collective consciousness.
Mm.
So during these seasons of holidays and all that, we need to be fully aware of where our energy is so that we know if it's our own or if we're
Mhm.
just picking up on somebody's energy.
Okay, so what are the steps when somebody wants to have a clearing energy in their space? What do you do in that case?
So first, when a client contacts me, I ask them, I have a list of questions that I ask to see what's going on. Why do they feel they need a clearing? And depending on what the size of the place, the questions that they answer, what's going on. Sometimes I have clients that they come and they're like, you know what, it's been a long week, a long month, a long year, and I feel like the house needs it, or we moved in a few years ago and we've never had a clearing. Now we want to have one. It's just like that energy of, I think we're ready for a new beginning with energy.
Mm.
And so there's a list of questions that I do ask based on what they're telling me, what the family size is, what the size of the home, where are they located. I have clients that come from out of state and they either purchase here or they're going to rent here for let's say 6 months to a year because they're traveling for work. And sometimes I do also have clearings out of state. So I do clearings on homes remotely.
Mm. And what are the cases that you experiences that you share about people having clearing the energy at home?
Yes. So I like to say that we were talking with mom earlier and my sister about how there's different types of clearings. And so it's like there's light clearing, medium, and then there's like, let's say the dark or something bad.
Mhm.
So the light is like I said, you've had a long week, maybe.
No, wait, I want you to phrase it how you phrased it when we were talking, because that was very important. Don't hide behind
Yes.
that.
Okay, so the way I phrased it was, it could be bad weather, it could be a tropical storm, or it could be a hurricane. What is it?
Uh-huh.
And so if it's like let's say light rain with a chance of sunny. So what happens is that it's let's even say that some of the you have kids and the kids got sick during the year, during the winter time, or had family visit over the holidays or over the weekend. So it just feels like the energy has been dense and they just feel extremely tired, lethargic, and they don't know why. And
Mm.
so they're like, you know what, I think we need a clearing. And also, like, they brought in maybe either old furniture or they purchased secondhand items. So
Mm.
that could be like a light energy that we can clear.
Mm.
Monica,
And
sorry.
well, yeah, I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry.
right now that you said about secondhand furniture and everything,
Yeah.
what would you say to clients who say to you, you know, my home is pretty clean, but do I need an energy clearing?
And the first thing I would ask is define clean.
Mm-hmm.
Define clean, because we can be used to our own energy, but that's why I say that I'll start asking questions. For example, I'll say, how are you sleeping?
Mm.
Like, oh, you know what? For the past 6 months, I can't fall asleep until 1 a.m. or I feel drained, or how's your energy? So sometimes it has to do with the energy in the home, why we can't do certain things. The other thing is that when a person says, my home is clean, it could literally be physically clean, but the energy might not be clean. So they're like, oh, I have someone come clean the house every
Mhm.
week. And I'm like, do they use bleach, Clorox? They're like, yes, they do. I'm like, do they use sage? What? No, so it just depends on what they define as clean. And also, when people have arguments, fights, disagreements, that's when also we need a clearing.
Hmm. I
So
was just thinking, not only that, but like you were mentioning earlier, if you have people over, and even if your cleaning lady comes in, she's still thinking she's still a new energy in your home. So even if
Yes.
she's cleaning, she's still going through her stuff, or, you know, whatever the case may be, right?
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
So anybody that comes into your home, it's kind of like you're allowing their energy to be.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go about clearing that? Now, some people have a good vibe, so to speak, and they just come in, do their job, and they leave. But some people, they worry, and I mean, who doesn't worry or have anxiety? Have anxiety, stress, and that's what they leave the energy in the home with.
Mm-hmm. So they
And
bring that, yeah, and they leave that, right?
and they're cleaning, and they have to
Mhm.
do a good job, and
Mhm.
they're stressed about it. You know what I mean? So it's like it just depends on what the situation is and what they're going through. They can also leave that type of energy there.
So it's like when we come back every day from work and we are tired all the time and we sit in the same chair, we leave the energy there.
Yes.
That's so
Yeah.
true.
Yes. And
Right.
so it's very important. And mostly like if you sit on the same couch, you're like, you know what, I just want to sit and just want some Netflix, or I just want to lay down for a second.
Right.
Those are the
Everybody
moments
has that one spot in the house.
yes, exactly. So we want to make sure that that spot is, and the whole house is clean, clear of any energy that we might have left behind. Because if not,
Ah.
we might even get irritated. And
Mm.
then we're like irritated with even family members in the same house. And they're not the issue. It's that the energy is just off.
Mm. I remember that when you both were little, we used to go to a meditation group. And there was one time that when each one of you were sitting in a couch, you fall asleep. And that
Mhm.
was very interesting for me. So I asked the lady, the owner of the place, what happened with that couch, where that couch came from.
Mhm.
And she told me that a lady used to sit there and she used to have a sick baby.
Mhm.
And there was a moment that the baby died in her hands
Mhm.
and the energy was in the couch.
Mhm.
That was the first time that I knew that energy can harm or can have an effect in
Can
us,
have an
right?
effect, right?
Yeah.
So, what is kind of what is the second one in
Oh, a tropical.
medium? Kind of a clearing, yes.
So the medium one, or the tropical storm, is let's say clearing the house because there was an argument, like a big fight. And I'm not talking about like sibling rivalry, or we just fought because of us. No, I'm talking about fights between either couples, or something that is coming up within the family. Somebody passed away. That's also very important if someone passes away. If there's a new baby coming in the home needs to be cleared.
Mm.
If somebody was sick in the hospital, like that kind of sick, not like I said earlier, like your kids got sick with a cold.
Mhm.
And also, let's see what else. If somebody moves out, let's say you had a roommate and they move out. And then we have, if there was a divorce or a separation, a breakup,
Mhm.
we need to clear the energy. When we have secondhand items that come from people that we know that they went through something harsh, or maybe we don't even know. But let's say, oh, this was my mom's, my grandmother's and my mom's ring. But every time that she puts it on, she feels like sad, depressed, or brought down. So secondhand items also can transfer that same energy. And so what we can do is also just clear that so that it has the essence of the person, but not the negative feelings of whatever they went through. Then we also could clear if there's a new project coming along,
Mhm.
and if it's a new home that you're just moving into.
That reminds me of also perhaps even like when you were talking about heirlooms, World War One, Two, Vietnam type of objects. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And the thing is that, you know, the ones that, for example, in this case, like you said, they're from war, we want to keep the memory alive of the person. And so we can keep the memory alive, but without that pain of what the person went through, or even like the family member that was a part of it. Let's say our grandparents were a part of that our parents went through, because our parents went through that guilt or that anger or frustration. We don't want to transfer that. So we can just still keep, let's say, the heirloom and not have those negative feelings.
So it is possible to remove the energy from the objects, and especially the clothes, because when somebody die, we get used to keep the stuff,
Yeah.
the person, right?
Yes.
Mm.
And I have like let's say an example. We did a home clearing where we sat at the table, at the dining table, so we could start the clearing. And so I was just like taking notes on everything. And then I just kind of felt like, I don't know why, I just feel like I just wanted to like lay down, or like it just felt, the table felt heavy, my knees felt heavy, something was heavy. And I told the person, like before I started, I said, where did you get this table? And it's because I also felt like there was something heavy over it. That's what the feeling I had. And so she goes, oh, this was my neighbor's, this table. My neighbor, when he passed away, he gave it, they gave it to me. I said, oh, and how did he pass? Oh, he passed away on the table.
I
So
knew
he
it. You were saying it. I was like,
was eating, he fell, and they found him like, I think a week later. And so and I was like, okay, so he passed away on the table, literally. And then they're like, hey, do you want this
here's the
table?
table.
Mm.
And I'm
Monica,
like,
and I had a question that came in.
Mm.
That was, if secondhand things have energy, are we never ever supposed to buy secondhand things, or what do we do with that?
no, you can always buy secondhand items. What happens is that what you want is to clear anything negative from the past. Because if it comes from someone, let's say, that was extremely angry,
Hmm.
then you might start feeling that anger and you won't know why. Because our bodies feel everything. And so we're empaths. And some of us are more sensitive than others. So just because it's a secondhand item doesn't mean you don't have to buy it, because actually the same thing happens with even new items. You can purchase a new item, and let's say the person that built it, made it, was having really a bad day that day,
Right.
and made it and
And it's because
Right.
we feel and sense, and we still don't know how powerful we are with our gifts. But beyond feeling the energy, we are sharing DNA, the DNA of the person or the people that belong those things, right?
Yeah. And so ideally it would be best to always just clear everything that comes into the home.
And it's completely different than washing it, right? Because that's people usually, usually people ask us, okay, but I washed it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's yeah. Washing it with, it's kind of like saying, should I wash it with soap? Is it the same if I wash it without soap? You know? So ideally, yeah, it would be, even though you washed it, even though, and sometimes I've even had people say, you know what, I saged it, I prayed over it. I always like to scan it and make sure, because sometimes it's not that it didn't work. It's just that it has something, an imprint of the previous owner.
Mm.
Mhm.
And that's definitely something a skilled healer will definitely be able to pick up. Because
Yeah.
most people will pick up, I'm not feeling okay. Something's off. But when you're connected and in a session, like Monica, she can be able to really see the whole story, the feelings, the beliefs behind everything, and really pick up, okay, what happened?
Yes. And I have a perfect story once we get to the dark one. To the hurricane.
We're on our way. It's a journey, everybody.
Hold on. Mhm.
And maybe that's a perfect segue to talk about maybe the third
The
level.
third one.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the hurricane, so when we do a clearing, when a person comes to me, I have a list of questions that I ask. And the basic questions, just so people have an idea of what I ask, is are objects moving on their own? Have they been touched, or do they feel that someone is looking at them? Or do they feel a presence in the home? It depends. So I have like a list of questions of, or do they see literally a ghost? Like, what's going on in the home? And sometimes people can walk into a room and it feels extremely dark.
Mm.
So or they walk into a room and it feels, they're like, every time I walk into this room, I'm so angry.
Mm.
Or you walk into a room, but you have to turn on the light really fast because you're scared and you don't know why. So there could be like, sometimes it's just like spirits of people that have passed away, either in the home, in the land, and then just need to be, sent to the light. Other times people have done it unintentionally or intentionally, either with rituals, Ouija boards, some type of equipment that they didn't even know they were doing it. And some people actually do it on purpose. And it just reminded me of like an object. I had this client, she came to me and she was like, Monica, I don't know, I've just been feeling off. And I'm like, what happened? I was like, so, we started the session, I closed my eyes and I connected, and I was like, what did you do like a week ago? And I said, I see something in your hand and I see red. And she's like, a week ago, well, I went with my friends during the weekend. Oh, well, it was Halloween on Sunday. This is like a few years back. On Sunday was Halloween. And then she was like, oh, and then, oh, what I had in my hand was like an antler kind of a thing. I was like, okay. And yeah. And then, oh yeah, we were doing some ritual. on Halloween with blood. And you know what? I think it was a full moon. And I'm like, really?
Go back up to the ritual with blood. What was that again?
Mhm.
No, it's like, okay. And so I was like, okay, so let's check if this could be the issue. And
Or
so,
or when people says that they were playing with the Ouija board, and we tell them that you open a door, and
Yeah,
they
I
say
don't
no,
know
but we
why
close it.
this game is still out there. It's still being made. The Ouija
Mhm.
board should just stop being made.
The issue is that they open doors, they close them maybe, but
whatever came through, came through.
came true, and it's
Now,
still there. Mm.
and we need to be careful with those objects because it was a very interesting thing. I saw a documentary where in the 80s, once the movie The Exorcist came out, there was a sale
Of Ouija.
increase of Ouija boards.
Oh,
And it was in like the toy section.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, toy section of kids. This is not like teenagers, kids. And so it kind of like just gives you also an idea that things are out there for a reason and we just need to be
Mm.
careful.
It's just respect that the energy, the negative energy, and
Yeah.
be away from that. So what happened when somebody comes and there is a lot of activity
In the
in
house.
the house?
What does a lot of activity look like? Yeah. What?
What does it look like? I'll give you an example. Aside from, oh, you know what? I'll give you a perfect example.
Mm.
So I got a call from a client and she said that there were things moving around. You know, I went through the questions and she's like, there were a few things moving. Oh no, she actually said there weren't nothing was moving around. She's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something in the house. The house is empty. My dad passed the house down to me and uh we're doing construction and you know the workers don't even want to go in the house because they feel there's something up. I'm like, okay. So I scanned the house and I was like, there's something stronger than just
Mm.
something's off. So when I went to the house and we were there, I said, can you describe to me exactly what's been going on? And she's like, she smiled and she's like, yeah, well, you know, uh, there was a remote control on this side and it kind of like lifted up and moved and dropped on this side. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she says that one of the workers that came in saw that he was going to grab a mop and the mop actually jumped out of the bucket and stood next to the bucket.
Oh my God.
And so these were just like a few things that were going on. I was like, well, okay.
That's huge. Yeah, that's
And
huge.
so it was a very interesting clearing because the activity was already strong.
Right.
It was
Oh,
a poltergeist by now because once things and objects start moving, or the next thing is like, you know, I always say, like, God forbid it gets to that point, it can hurt a person.
And one thing I wanted to add that someone shared with me was that she was sharing with me that things were moving in her home, that a lot of plates were moving in her kitchen, that bags of flour would fall, and the whole family would just be accustomed to it already. And so she started to say, oh, it's just the spirits talking to me. That's how they talk to me.
Mhm.
And so
mm,
just be mindful that that's not supposed to be a normal thing.
mm.
And it may sound like a party trick, or it may sound like, yeah, this is just what happens. But at some point, that's not normal anymore, right, Monica?
Yeah, I always like to say, depending on why it's happening, because there are several factors before it actually starts getting to that point. Let's say Because I've had clients, I have a client that her dad passed away.
Mm.
And so every time that certain things happen in a space, it is her dad, because that's what her dad used to do. And so, for example, in those cases, and you've already consulted someone or me or one of us, and oh yeah, it's your dad, we confirmed it, then we know that's what it is. But sometimes we're like, oh, that's just my friendly ghost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normal. If like Jen, sometimes we joke around like the blender's all over. No, it's not. Yeah,
There's
so
a difference between
It's different.
it being perhaps a family member, right?
Mm.
And something completely different.
Mm.
So what would be, how do we get there? What is it like? What's the real difference of why this even happens in the home? What attracts it?
right. So also we have to see that if it is a family member, we want to make sure that the family member is at peace and in the light. So sometimes I have clients come to me and say, because what happens is that when someone passes away, we go through a grieving period. So our energy lowers, our vibration. And so in those moments, we can attract something from the cemetery or from the hospital, wherever we were. Well, so that would be the first step. Do a healing on the person to make sure that the person has that self-forgiveness, because we all have some guilt or feel irresponsible for either the person passing or not doing enough, something, even
Mm.
with the passing of a pet. So we'd have to see how that happened first. And if it was traumatic, then we definitely need to see if the person is still not in the light because they're not aware that they passed away. Now that we know, yes, you know what, it is, let's say your father, your mother, or your sister,
Mm.
brother, then we send them into the light and they can communicate better with you. Now, let's say nothing like that has happened. Then our vibration lowers when there's alcohol in the home. And I'm not talking about, you know what, I have a drink every now and then, or I have a drink on a Saturday night because I'm tired, or no, it happens because usually we drink supposedly to celebrate or something like that, but we're like, oh, I had the worst week ever, and then this happened and this happened, so we drink out of anger or frustration, and so it lowers our vibration. Then we can attract also things,
Mm.
attachments, and then we can bring them home. So there's drugs, alcohol, also medications. So we need to make sure that also we can clear medications, because remember, medications is for supplementing something in the body. And
Mhm.
so we can also clear that. Then we also have situations that have happened, like, uh, you know, stress at work, but I'm talking about stress, you know what, I lost my job. Or it can be, or my son got hurt in school. We have to see why the vibration lowered and why did it come home.
Mm.
Or our kids could be going through something and then they bring something home. So it could be for different reasons.
One of the
Mm.
things I really like is that you have this assessment. Did this happen? Did this happen? Is that a yes? We're gonna go down here. Is this a no? We're gonna look at this. So you have this system already of like, okay, how to get there? What is it? How did it get there? And really how to clear that person and keep them clean. And I know you're having a class coming up. Tell us about that class.
Yeah, so in this class, we're going to be talking about all of the above. And I am not going to use the metaphors of hurricane, tropical storm. I will be using other terms, but basically it's going to be about how we're going to be clearing, more in depth on when, how, what, where, what kind of energies do we clear. We're going to be also clearing and discussing about psychic attacks. Why doesn't sage work sometimes? How can emotions affect, and I'm talking about like negative emotions, not and not all emotions that are negative are bad, but sometimes we stay in a space of anger and we don't let go. Those type of emotions. Also, any vow contracts from past relationships. We can do also energetic divorces from people and places, vow contracts and agreements from negative energies or entities, or even anything that has to do with an entity that has an attachment to the person or a home.
And I think we are going to leave there because
Mhm.
we are going to make another video. I think we still have some more examples or more questions, like portals, vortex that can be at home. And that's something very interesting. Thank you so much. Jen, can you let us know the date of the class?
Yes, so Monica's gonna be having this spooky masterclass, and it's gonna be November 25th and the 26th.
Mhm.
And you can find that in our calendar at mypath2light.com. And when you join, you're going to have access to Monica, Q&A with her. She's going to be able to look into your situation, how bad. She's going to label you by hurricane weather. And just be able to answer your questions. Maybe if you are a healer who's learning about this is going to be good for you. Or if you have experienced any of the things that Monica mentioned, even I would suggest, even if you feel like you haven't experienced nothing this deep, right? Nothing as bad as hurricane level 5, that you give yourself the permission to come and join the class so that you can have a better, clear energy in your home. Okay. And I think that's going to be so beneficial for anything in your career, your money, and just your overall well-being. So we invite you to this class where, of course, we're going to be there, my Path to Light team. And yeah, please take a look at that. We have the investment of 250, or we also have a payment plan of 2 payments of 175, so that you can also leave a comment below with any questions that you have wherever you find this video. I'm sure there's going to be like a place for you to leave comments. So if you have questions, you can leave them there. We'll be sure to answer them and have you enroll in the class. Again, that date is going to be November 25th and November 26th.
And here in My Path to Light, we teach classes where you can develop your senses and you can do this kind of a job. But in this class, it's going to be very specific. It's going to be about clearing energy, all the spooky negative energy that could be stuck or stagnant in your space. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope to see you in the next video and in the class.
Yes, thank you.
Having a very good day. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.